agreeing to do this. Super short notice, but got you. This is really the first show I've been able to do since I got back home. So I'm glad I'm doing it with another vet, another black vet, just here. So yeah, man, talk to the people, tell them what you're about, man.
Oh shoot, brother, I appreciate you for just agreeing to let me do this, man. Like shoot, when I seen your post and was like, hey man, check out this podcast. I was like, what? I just thought about doing a podcast. Like, I definitely want to connect with this brother. Like you said, we both veterans. And I love vets helping vets because that's one thing that, especially being, a black person, we don't always get the same kind of help. If it's not each other, for what we're trying to do,
Hmm.
it's like it doesn't really come the same way.
Yep.
And I know people get tired, like, oh, y'all always doing the black card. I was like, man, that's just life. That's just how it is. But when we can come together and work with one another,
Hmm.
that's a beautiful thing, man. So I appreciate you just posting what you're doing and showing your craft and showcasing that because, again, that's another thing. Like some people don't even show what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like you're just this masterful artist and you out here got this talent, like share it with the world. So I'm
Yep.
glad you put that out there.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I know that's a long way of saying who I am, but just to introduce myself, Kyle Richardson. I just retired from the Army after 24 years of service. Like we were talking earlier about the military, I
Hmm.
had three MOSs. That's kind of
My
really
man had
unheard
every
of.
job.
Right. It took me a minute to figure out what I wanted to do,
Hmm.
but I was like, oh man, I know I wanted to help people. So
Right.
I started as a combat medic. I did that for a year before switching over to mental health specialist.
Hmm.
And I did that for 10 years.
Oh wow.
And I was about to get out at that point. Like, I love the job, but I was just burnt out from the Army. And then one of my buddies, he was reclassing. He's like, hey, look into public affairs with me.
Mm.
It's like they have a bonus. Like it was a $20,000 bonus. Like, well, I don't know what that is, but for 20K, I'll figure it out. So,
No, that's right.
so one of those things. I was like, I started researching. I was like, oh man, they write. Like I like to write. I like
Hmm.
the whole art aspect, and
Hmm.
so I ended up reclassing
Yeah.
into that MOS, and shoot, I ended up doing another 10 plus years.
Oh
So
wow.
like, I loved it, man.
So 24 years enlisted. The first year as a combat medic. How was that?
So my first 4 years, I was in the Indiana National Guard.
Okay.
So, it was mostly training. And then when I got back to my unit, I was gun ho. I joined at 17, man.
Hmm.
Like, so I wanted to
Oh, they
do
got
something.
you.
I come from this small town in Indiana.
Hmm.
It's like nothing but cornfields and cows. I'm like, shoot, I'm trying to see the world. Put
Right.
me out there. Put me in the
Right.
game,
Right.
coach.
Right.
And then my first sergeant looked at me. He was like, simmer down. Like, this is the guard. We don't do all that.
So you think you will be rappelling out of planes and
You're right. I
delivering
was like,
babies?
man, I was like, you're right. I was motivated. It was funny. The first time I brought the commander in, he's like, listen to this guy. Let's see, and listen to everything he's trying to do and all that stuff. And they over here making fun of me. Like, I was serious. I'm trying to go airborne. I want to go air assault. I want to deploy. And they just laughed. They had a field day with me when I came back. It's
Oh
like,
man.
go ahead and read these field manuals, and then we're gonna go over to the motor pool and do some PMCS.
It's like, do what now?
Right.
Yeah, they ain't
Oh
tell you
man.
to
So they
clean it
hurt my
up.
feelings real quick. But it's like that. Shoot, you go over here and you get your motivated people, and you
Hmm.
end up with the wrong leaders.
Oh
They're gonna suck
yeah,
that energy from you.
real
So,
quick, real
man.
quick. Yeah.
Like I've always tried to be the other NCO to encourage you, whatever you got going on.
Hmm.
Like, hey, let's talk about it. How can we develop you to be who you really want to be and reach your full potential?
Right.
Like I don't knock people for the MOSs they choose. Like, if you want to be infantry or whatever, go ahead and do that. Like,
Hmm.
be infantry. But unless you're gonna do a full 20 plus, then I say do a few years and then find you an MOS that's
Right.
gonna
Get out.
translate to something else on the
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
Uh, you see a lot of veterans, they they get 5, 10 years in, and then once they get out, it's like, man, what can I do?
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to go back to school, but sometimes you got to, or sometimes they luck out and find a decent job. But
Mm-hmm.
oh man, like you might as well take control of your life while you're in.
Yeah, 100%. That's the conversation I have with anybody who's trying to get out of the military. Like every mission, every training we had, there was an exit. Then we had an entire exit strategy. Why don't you have one for what you're trying to do once this is over? All they think is, I don't have to wear these boots anymore. I don't have to do 4 a.m. PT. I don't have to do think all the things they not have to do anymore. But it's like, all right, well, who is petty officer, who is sergeant such and such, who gonna be when that's not in their job description anymore? Like, what do you, who are you gonna be? And they'll fall
Right.
flat on their face. but
And
my old chief would say it like somebody getting out of prison or something. Yeah, you be back. You be back in 6 months.
it's so weird when people do that. Like, what do you mean I'm gonna be back? Or they discourage you from getting out. Like, why do you want to get out? What you gonna do when you get out? I'm like, man, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna
Right.
I'm gonna live my life. Like my thing, I had a 5 year exit strategy, so I was already planning for what I
That's
was gonna
super smart.
do. And then it, I say it's kind of a shame. Like I
Mm-hmm.
kept my plans to myself.
Right.
There's so many people who try to derail you, or
Mm-hmm.
they kind of run these obstacles. So I didn't tell anybody what I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to do. I was like, I'm just gonna look for a job. But I had my whole exit plan. Like I started my business in 2018. That was the beginning. It's like, okay, let me get my practice now while I'm still I'm
Right.
collecting a check, and I can build up my brand. I can
Mm-hmm.
find my customers and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
then by the time I get out, I'll be good to go. I work out all the kinks and stuff, and I can look like a professional. So I was doing that. I was doing my photography, and I got a photo booth business. So I started doing that while I was in, and just then I started looking like, okay, well, I might want a job too. Let me see, how do my skills add up to the other people within the civilian sector? Like, what certifications do I need? What
Mm-hmm.
degrees do I need? So I started looking at that and taking a little extra training and just getting myself prepared. And
Yeah.
just, I think by the time I got out, like I did my ceremony, then I was on my terminal leave. I had a job interview, and then as soon as my terminal leave ended, like my job started that following week.
Oh
So,
man.
like, yeah, it all worked out.
Yeah. That's also 5 years of preparation before you had to get out. So you went from 24 years and then figuring out how to translate all that training experience, because you don't even think about how much leadership is also involved with everything you're doing as well, which a lot of companies want that, and the ability for somebody to learn a system, get a job done, then quickly learn another system and be able to still be high performing while learning and doing, which is something the military is
Right.
really good at.
Right. Yeah. So I definitely took those leadership skills. So I work for a consulting company now.
Mm,
I do pretty much the same thing I was doing when I was in the Army.
mm,
So I was doing that communications and social media, and I was like, shoot, they brought me on, and I started working with government agencies, and I was like, man, what do y'all need? And I just started looking back through some of my old documents, like, well, we did some of this over here.
mm,
Let me introduce this to these guys and see what
mm.
they think. Yeah, it's like so far, like some of the plans I came up with, they're like, oh, we love this. We didn't even think about this.
Right, right.
It's funny because I work with some of the officers that used to work with me when I was in uniform. It's like, okay. I presented this during a briefing to some of your people. I could see they weren't really listening. So,
Bro, it's kind of rewarding to be able to take those skills, especially when you're interacting with other military folks and you see them like after, and you can turn that into something very profitable, and then those ideas get validated in the corporate space outside of the military where it's like, oh yeah, these are good ideas. And I'm like, I've been telling them jokers for years.
Oh man, I had that because I had a boss, man. Like I used to tell him all kind of stuff, and
Mm.
then he look at me like, yeah, yeah, whatever. And then someone else would come in like months later and tell him like, oh, you should try this, and he jump right on it, like, oh, that's the greatest thing ever. And I'd be looking over there, be in the corner, be like, man, I just told you this a few months ago, and now you want to listen. He
Oh
come
man.
right up, hey, Rich, we got to try this. I'm like, you don't get out my face right now.
It's like, I need you to go
Yeah.
back to your emails about 6 months, and I want you to go to the email with this, and then just go read it for me real quick, because I've already talked to you about this.
And it's funny, and it's people just don't listen to you. Like if you are there constantly, it's like they dismiss you. But when somebody else come and present it, and like, oh man, it's the greatest thing ever. And
Mm,
I brought that to one of my clients last week. We were talking about just how can they be better on social media. It was like, look, I can talk to you till I'm blue in the face,
mm,
but I'm gonna bring in one of the industry leads and let
mm.
them tell you same thing I would tell you because you're
Right,
gonna listen to them a little bit more.
right.
Uh, they were like, "Yeah, let's hook this up."
Oh man, how I think about this sometimes. Like with a lot of people saying like it's kind of difficult to have a relationship and be in the military. Were you married when you were in?
Yeah, so I ended up getting married when I was in Germany, and my wife's not German. Uh,
Surprise!
That's the first
I
thing
was
people
expecting.
ask. I was like, "Oh man, you got over to Germany and you picked up one of them German women." Like, nah, it wasn't like that. I was there for about a year and a half before I met my wife.
Hmm.
She was in the army too.
Okay.
She had just got there, first duty station. I had just got back from Afghanistan,
Hmm.
and like we just clicked immediately,
Hmm.
and we were just talking about it. So when I met her, and we were just talking, we were friends. I was the rear D first sergeant at the time,
Hmm.
while everyone else was on leave. So when my unit came back, I ended up taking my leave later. And by the time I got home, like we ran the phone bill up to about $1,000. My mom was like, "Look, before you go, you need to pay this." I was like, "Oh snap,
Say my
my
bad.
bad, ma." It was like I barely left the house. I just
Oh
talked to
man,
her. My mom was like, "You must really like this woman. You over here, you can ram my phone bill up, and y'all talking like this
I hear cupcaking
day in
the
and
whole
day
house.
night."
And
Yeah, right.
would you
I'll tell
say?
you, it was crazy.
Would you say that being married and meeting your wife made your military career easier?
Um, Sometimes it does because you definitely need someone there. I've seen my single friends and they go
Hmm.
through relationship after relationship.
Hmm.
It's nice to have someone there on that journey with you,
Hmm.
and you tend to build each other up.
Yeah.
You want to succeed with your partner.
Hmm.
And, she eventually got out for medical reasons.
Hmm.
So she kind of just followed me around. So we didn't dive into her career as much.
Hmm.
She got her school in and she continued to build on what she was doing as much as she could,
Hmm.
but it was more about my career. So just kind of pushing me forward and doing the things that I needed to do and taking the assignments that I needed to take to kind of get to where I am today.
Right.
And then I always told her, I was like, look, by the time I get out, we'll focus on what you want to do, wherever you want to go. Because she has her own counseling service now.
Mm.
So we kind of waited until we got a little stable. She started getting her certifications, and everything she needed.
Hmm.
And it was like, okay, that's what you want to do. Let's go ahead and put the money into that. She was doing it for a year. This year, she got her own building.
Oh wow.
So like we started building her up. It's like, okay, next year, if we stay in this area, we'll see what we need to do. Because she's leasing her office right now. It's like if we need to buy one, let's go ahead get this money together, get whatever money we need for a loan, and we could buy a building or
Yeah.
however you want to proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 'cause with my job, I can go anywhere,
Right.
but it was just cool. It's definitely just cool having her there and just supporting me because
Mm-hmm.
we all know military life, it gets rough.
Oh yeah.
And, you get them leaders that just they keep you all hours of the night. I think that's probably the hardest, like
Yeah.
when you have to deploy or separate.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know our first 5 years of marriage, I was gone. I had deployed yeah, I deployed to Iraq, came back, and then the different assignments. As a photographer, I followed my 4-star around. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever he went somewhere, I was with him.
Right.
And that was like the first 5 years of our marriage. And she was like, God, I don't know what I signed up for. And then they sent me to Korea. So,
Yeah, even though she was in the military,
yeah,
it still be a little
yeah,
tough, man.
yeah,
Man.
yeah. It was a little rough though. So,
Yeah, man. Yeah, military relationships ain't for the weak, man. It takes takes strong character. It takes a lot of patience. As my grandma say, patience is Job.
So I tell everyone, it's like a business.
Mm-hmm.
The love is the least that you need in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship.
Yeah.
You have to come together and want to work it out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
That's the big thing people say, like, oh, you just got to communicate. You got to communicate. No, you have to communicate in a way they can receive it.
Yeah.
So we all have a different way of receiving information.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't put it in terms that I understand or even want to hear it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna talk to you. Like we set rules when we first started dating. So people make fun of me. It was like, y'all set rules. Like, yeah. I was like, she can't call me out of my name.
Mm.
You're not gonna call me stupid.
Hey,
You're
now
not
I
gonna
like
cuss at
that.
me. All these B words. We don't joke at each other like that. And
Mm-hmm.
just I see couples all day long. Oh, you an idiot. You're this. You dumb. I hope you
Mm.
jump off the building and fall
Oh
on your face.
Lord.
People talk to themselves, talk to each other crazy. And they do it. Oh, we joke and love each other.
Mm.
But okay, what happens when you're angry with one another?
Right.
Now these same jokes are turned around and used in a hateful manner.
Right.
So
But
now
nobody's
every
having fun.
time you use it, yeah, every time you use these phrases, that's a little bit of hate
Mm-hmm.
that goes to each other. So
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
I was like, and then my other rule was like, all right, whatever happens in the house, it stays in the house. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we don't talk negative about each other outside the house
Yeah.
because you always have those couples. That's all you hear. You hear the bad stuff. The bad might only be 25% of the time.
Right.
And there's 75% of this relationship that they're not talking about, but you're feeding into all this negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And, the more you talk about the negative, the more you really feel that energy, and that's what sticks out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you really have to force yourself to talk more about the positive. And because society, everything is negative. Like the things we read, what's
Right.
on TV, what's on social
Right.
media, it's all negative. So you got to retrain yourself to think about the positive and like, okay, what do I love about her? And, what keeps us together? And when you start talking about that and spreading that seed
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, it's easier to be in that relationship.
Yeah. 100%. Man, that's awesome, man. Like seriously, like, it's just and like you said, like you could like turn on the TV, getting on your phone, like it's training your brain to just be all right. Hold on, I'm about to hit you with some rough stuff. Yeah, so at least, man, in
I'll
your
tell you, man,
relationships, you gotta
like,
have some peace, you know.
yeah. It took me a minute. Like when I got out the army, I got off of social media. Like I was drained. Like people say when you're done with the military, when it's time to leave. Like it was time.
Mm,
Like I was a whole nother person, man. I just felt just defeated, and so it took me a minute to get away from all the negativity and kind of just cleanse your soul. And
mm,
I didn't realize how much I changed over the years,
right.
and so I kind of stepped away from all the social media stuff. Like I don't really read into all the
Yeah.
negativity, and
Yeah.
just I know it's a part of our lives, and we kind of deal with it. But shoot, I'm that guy. I'm always looking for that silver lining.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that, man. It's really your diet, as much as like you can't eat junk food every day, like putting that into your face and after a while it will take effect on you, man. And yeah, you gotta be really careful about that.
It's a perfect analogy. I like how you said that. That is true. Like you said, you can't shove horrible food in your face and expect to be, optimal performance.
No, garbage in, garbage out. Now for real.
Right.
Oh man. So how was like you had what sounds like a good idea as far as what you wanted to do when you left the military. Um, what's advice that you would give somebody, especially when it comes like dealing with the VA and the medical stuff? Like my job, it's been drummed in my head. The first day I showed up in my first unit was like anything that happens to you, I don't care if it's a paper cut, like you document everything. What's something that you would tell folks that are on their way out or anywhere in their career that you knew or found out after you got out?
Dude, shoot, one thing I tell people now, like if you even think about considering getting out, start your medical stuff. Like we usually wait. Like I don't know, we have it in our mind that if you go to sick call, you go to the doctor, it's a weakness. If you get checked out, we want to be the perfect soldier, perfect airman. Like I can't miss work. It's like that's beat into us, so
Mm,
we neglect our medical care for
right,
the longest until like that last 3 months when you're starting out process, and that's when it's too late.
right.
It's like you have to start years early. You have to start looking at these issues like from head to toe.
Mm,
And like when I was going through my medical stuff, I think it was about 2 years out. I started
yeah.
looking at the stuff, and I had forgot about something. Like I broke my foot at one point, so I forgot I broke my foot.
So yeah, I did break my foot that
I
one
was like,
time.
oh yeah, yeah. I was like, I did do that, huh?
Oh man.
so so I started going back through the stuff
Mm,
and like, oh, I've been putting this thing off. Let me get this checked out.
mm.
Just having a record of it, because the VA gonna do you dirty
Oh
anyways.
God, right.
They not trying to pay you that money.
Mm-mm.
So
You sure
just
you need
start
all
looking at
this?
that
It's
stuff
like I'm
and
sure it all happened. Yeah, I'm gonna need all that.
yeah. And it's funny because if you're E3 and get out, it's
Mm,
almost automatic 100%. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, the military took, bad care of you. Let's hook you up on your rating. But if you are like 15 years or more, they question everything. Like,
mm,
are you sure you're hurt? Are you sure? Like after about 5, 10 years, you're gonna come out with some kind of issues. I don't
mm-hmm.
know why it's not automatic.
Right.
It should be if you do 20 years, it should be 100% because there's something wrong with you. Like you're not the same as you were when you were a
No,
kid. So
no, no. You
yeah.
did not. I am not returning back to civilian life the way y'all found me
Right.
when I
It's
showed
like
up
I
at
joined when I
MEPS.
was 17. Shoot, I was 17. I thought I was invincible. Like you could not stop me. And then I hurt my back. It was like 2003 when I hurt my back, and shoot, my whole life changed after I hurt my back. It's like you can't do the same. And
Mm.
them doctors looked at me at the VA like, you look fine. Like I am not fine.
It's like maybe
I'm
you look
like
fine.
I'm heavier than what I was. I can't run. you, he's like you ain't looking at the same X-rays that I'm looking at.
No sir.
Them dudes, man. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to send a shout out to our favorite Facebook group for connecting us because I will post this
Oh
on there for
man.
y'all. So I appreciate y'all. Um, I
Right.
hope that I
Right.
can link up with
Yeah.
some more folks so they can kind of get this going. And maybe we can have a little round table, man. I would love to, share more stories and experiences with folks.
I think we can because there's a whole group of them
Mm.
from DC, and I posed that too. It's like, hey, we need to hook up that DMV connection. There's a ton of them, man, and
Yeah.
I think we all are crazy. You've been in the group long enough to see like it is
Boy,
some
some
characters
stories
in
and
there.
yeah, sell some
Yeah.
characters for sure. There's some characters.
I thought I was wild. I'm like I'm not even like hitting the meter at all compared to some of the people in there.
And that's why I got this
Oh,
podcast. So
but
we can all sit down and talk about these wild experiences that we've had throughout our military career and afterwards. Because I know some of y'all are still acting up,
right, right. Shoot, I love my wife. I like coming home,
right?
but
Shoot.
some people you can't tell are married.
Ah,
Uh, Shoot,
Chief, is that
I
you,
guess
bro?
that's military life.
Boy, oh man, especially the deployable times. Because good gracious,
Oh
man,
my God.
shenanigans, man,
So
shenanigans.
I was medical. I was a mental health specialist when I deployed the first time, and we were attached to a hospital. And
Mm.
I remember I went to Camp Salerno. Once I got there, like they were wrapping up, it was a sex ring. So it was these Marines and Special Forces was pimping out some of the girls. They
Oh
were making
no.
videos. So
Oh, why y'all like this?
I was like, this was day one in country. And I was like, God, it's gonna be a long year. And then, I was cool with all the lab techs.
Hmm.
And then we be in the back. They were like, hey man, Rich, I know you might want to holler at some folks. I was single at the time, so I could do what I want.
Hmm.
They started pointing the people out with like STDs. Like, stay away from her. She burning people.
Oh,
Stay away from her. This one got this from him. Hey, was like it was crazy. It was crazy. Like I advise if y'all go downrange, deploy, you single or you single while you deploy, don't touch nobody.
there's the difference.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
a huge
god.
difference because you over here falling in love with folks and they get back to the real world and it's like, oh, that was it. We had fun, but we won't talk about these nights. And because it was crazy, man. Like I had people we talked to that they got them letters in the movie. I
Mm.
honestly didn't think it was a real thing.
Oh
You
yeah,
get
it's
one of them
definitely
Dear
real.
John letters.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think it was real. I had this dude, he came in my office, like she took everything. I'm like, what are you talking about? She took it all. She cleaned out the bank accounts and he had the letter in hand. And I was like, I ain't much of an emotional guy,
Right?
but I was like, God, that like hit my soul. I can only imagine
Yeah,
you
man.
didn't saved up $30,000. You about to come home and it's gone. Like the kids are gone, your wife is gone. Yeah,
The
you know,
dog's gone. It's like a country song. It's like a bad country song.
it is, man. It
uh,
it is crazy, and people do some of the worst things ever. And they wait for their spouses to leave. Like I remember when I was at Fort Benning, they had a thing where you put the mop outside a certain way that just lets you know that she ready, you know.
that's
And then they
hey.
changed it to where they hang the flag a certain way. And it was you sit there, you go through housing, and you see all these signals, and people be coming and going, and uh, it's crazy.
Yeah, man. I don't miss those days of housing. I tell you what, housing is not and it's not like that everywhere. Obviously we were talking about particular individuals, but whoo,
Mhm.
they be running
Right,
amok.
right, right. I was like, I couldn't do it. Like, man, I wouldn't touch a wife while like her husband is gone. I had a buddy. He told me like I bought a wedding ring
Mm,
just to go holler at women, and
it
I
works.
was like,
It's
huh?
not
What do you
it's
mean you
it's
got?
terrible, but it works.
It's like, man, he said he picked up so many ladies in the bar just with his ring and just thinking they're in the same position, and he over here just living his best life. And
Lord. Ain't nothing better than other
oh man,
people's drama.
right, right. It's crazy. And I had a soldier, man, like this dude, he drove me crazy. We so it was another thing I didn't know we did. So we put him out. We were trying to put him out on a chapter for cowardice. Like he was afraid to deploy. Like I thought
Oh
that was just
wow.
in the movies, but
Yeah.
that's a real thing. So
Wow.
we started the paperwork and this dude, he missed the entire deployment. He was still there when we got back. They eventually got him out, but it took so long. to put him out and all the mental health stuff we had to
Mm.
do. But he ended up messing around with this captain's wife, uh, and he fell in love.
Of
So
course.
this dude, I would say he was smitten. Like, was mad. He was madly in love with her.
Mm-mm-mm.
And then when the husband came back, he was deployed with her. So when he came
Mm.
back, he was like, "Look, I know what you was doing with her. Whatever. We had our issues. We worked it out. We gonna stay together." And the
Mm.
girl was like, "Look," because he was a specialist at the
Mm.
time. So I came back. I found this out. I told him, "Look, man, in no reality will this captain's wife want to be with a specialist. You don't even have the same kind of money
At all.
that he's bringing in."
No.
So, he kind of got offended. He's like, whatever, we're going to make it work. I was like, look, you got to pass. Captain said he's not going to do anything. He's not going to make your life any worse. Leave her alone.
Mm.
And he's like, okay, I think he stopped for maybe a week or two. Then he started calling, emailing, showing up at her house. And this captain came to the office. He over here cussing at me, cussing at my commander. I was like, so he was hot. So that was another thing we hit him up for, and it was crazy, man.
Man, these stories are fun, but I'm sure it's a little bit better not having to manage these folks. That's the one thing, man. Once you become a supervisor, like your whole world starts changing. Like you got kids, you got to worry about it. You not get birth to, and it's just they out here committing felonies out in the
Right.
streets.
Man, my son has never given me any kind of issues compared to what my soldiers have gotten into. Like I had my thing. I know people gonna hate me for this. I hate 40-year-old specialists. If you were older than me, but your rank was less than mine, I really didn't want you in
Oh
my in my
no!
charge. You were going to be a headache automatically
Oh
because
yeah,
you've seen the world a certain way
yep,
already,
yep.
and now I have to mold you in a form that's best for the military.
Yeah.
And they were always my biggest headache. I had this woman. I had to write her a counseling statement. One, to stay out the barracks. She would go to the barracks, wash her clothes, but her daughter would be in all the soldiers' room. They doing, just doing adult things with her daughter. And I was
Lord.
like, look, you can't bring your kid to the barracks. She was 17. I was like, look, I don't care what kind of consent is going on. Stop bringing your daughter to the barracks.
Dude,
So,
that's that's a menace right there. I am sorry you had to deal with it.
I was like, man, I had to do that. I wrote counseling statements for people not doing hygiene.
Oh,
I was
that's the
like, I
worst.
hate telling grown
Oh,
folks
that's the
not to
worst.
wash their bodies. Yeah.
I'm like, how are you literally? We had a guy on our boat, which is we had a guy on our boat who we got to write negative page 7 and just with draft paperwork because he wasn't showered. Like to the point where it was, my boy D laughed. He was like, "What?" He's like, "There's always one. There's always one stink bug, and that you gotta worry about." I'm like, "So what? We gotta wash. We
What?
gotta watch him wash." He was like, "I mean, no, but yes." And I'm like, "This is horrible."
It's like you would think that we're in
23.
confined spaces. Like, let me be the most pleasant that I could be.
It's like, why do you want, as a grown man, to have another grown man or potentially somebody younger than you have to supervise you washing your ass?
Right. Right. And I was like, shoot, they telling you to spread them for other reasons.
Go long gander, like, nah, bro, this ain't safe, bro.
Yeah.
So when the chief told me to do the paperwork.
Right. Right.
Oh man,
But it's crazy, man. You get the two dirty people that get together though. I was like, yeah, y'all enjoy each other. That's gross, but
horrible.
shoot.
I don't miss those days. I did not miss those days one bit.
I don't either, man. Like I love being a civilian. So it's like you don't have to dive into people's lives like that, and
Right?
it's it's all superficial.
Yeah.
Like, hey Tim, hi, how's it going?
Right. And
And
you just keep it
I would
moving.
go to my little cubicle.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, you keep moving because you in the military, you gotta depend on these folks. You know, they gotta watch your back. You gotta watch theirs. You gotta make sure that they
Yep.
good from top to bottom. From from they leave the base to go home. You know what? They still your. They still yours. They still your people. You still gotta take
Yeah.
care of them. Text them on the
Yeah.
weekend. Make sure they good. Make
Yeah.
sure they
I
white
remember when I
and
was in I would say when I was in Germany, man,
mm,
like I told my soldiers, like, call me whenever. Like, I don't want you getting a DUI.
mm,
I don't care where you are, how far out you
yep,
are. Just
yep.
call me. I'll come get you. And lo and behold, they would do it.
It's like y'all
They,
actually
I'll
called
be
me.
mad. You,
You
yeah,
bailiffs.
yeah. Like, it was cool. I'm glad you trust me. It's like, but you 3 hours away from post, and now I gotta come get you. So you got to deal with me 3 hours coming back. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
get my time back,
Oh yeah.
and that was the deal. Like, hey, like you gonna hear about it. You gonna get this lecture for 3 hours, but
Mm-hmm.
come this weekend, I'm gonna get my time back. You gonna do something, but
Yeah.
I never did any UCMJ on anybody.
Right.
It's
Right.
like I was young. Like we were all young and having fun, and I appreciate you calling me. So I didn't make it too painful,
Mm,
so they would stop calling me and then
yeah.
try to drive home and die or kill somebody. So I'd rather us handle it than the
Right.
enforcement
And the
handle it. Yeah.
and the yeah. Anything to avoid hitting at the lowest level, so we don't have to get the administrative process involved, man. Because
Mhm. Yeah.
man,
And I didn't realize like how many people still out here drinking and driving is like me and my wife was talking about that. It's crazy. Like you got Uber, there's still
yeah,
taxis. All military installations have some kind of pickup and drop off
yeah,
service.
yeah.
Like why you out here drinking and driving?
Dude, I mean, especially in in this area, like there's so many options, and everything's pretty relatively close. Um,
Mm.
And then the other side of it, you got too many municipalities where that jurisdiction could just snatch you. So like, I don't know why anybody would be out here drinking and driving, and you got to worry about Capitol Police, DC Police, Maryland State Troopers, Virginia State Troopers, just the individual cities and the county police, bruh. Mm-mm. Nope.
Right, right.
No.
And they already be out here trying to get them budget, get that money for this budget. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
we
You
need to
know it.
write 100 tickets. We
You
got
know
you.
it.
They be out.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Watch yourself, cause they are out to get your.
right.
What's the It's that one like infamous speed trap in Virginia. You know which one I'm talking about? It's like on the 301 side, and it's like it goes from like 55 to like 35 on the crest of a hill as you coming down.
Um, at one point they had it was a camera out there
Mm-hmm.
because I got flashed. I was like, when they put this out
When
here?
they put this, and you can tell everybody's shocked because everybody's like, I ain't
Yeah,
seen them
yeah.
with my
'Cause I know
ways
what
or
you're talking
nothing.
about because it's
Ways should
usually
fail me.
right. It's usually cop on both sides, but
uh,
I got flashed. I was like, what? I'm like, man, I got like two camera tickets and
the,
back to back.
the disrespect.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I've said like, we ain't got to worry about it. We get these folks, and you try to learn to slow down, but the traffic in this area, I
It's
don't know, I get
insanity.
road rage.
Yeah,
So,
man. It's especially 295, which I just stay away from at all costs. But sometimes it's a thing. You got to get on there. It's either NASCAR or a parking lot.
right,
There's
right,
no middle ground.
right. And it's always an accident. Like I drive to the Pentagon, a couple times a week, and you you just stuck in traffic unless you pay to get in the express lane.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that's the NCR, life.
Bro. Yeah, if you're in the DMV, you're in the National Capital Region. That's just what it is. You got to get used to it because it ain't changing no time soon.
Mhm. it's it's the same, man. But hey, we'll be out here for a while, so
Yes, indeed.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The area though, man, like for, all the veterans that are out here. And I think that was easy, what helped me with my transition. Just there's so many veterans out here,
Mm-hmm.
so many agencies that helps, one another out. Like before I got out, I was working with the USO. They
Mm-hmm.
got the Pathfinder program.
Oh, dope.
And then you can go to Fort Belvoir. They got the transition specialists there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was during COVID, so I did all my stuff remote. But
Mm-hmm.
now you can just go in person. And then Fort Myers had their TAPS classes that they were doing, and they connected me with was it American Corporate Partners.
Mm-hmm.
Hooked me up with a mentor. So it was a lot going on, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of corporations out here willing to just work with veterans and just make sure you have that opportunity to transition into your next career or whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's inspiring, man. Like your story is dope, man. Like it's good to see somebody really get on out of the service and then kick butt doing what you're doing.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, man. I talked to my brother a lot about what we were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and growing up, we didn't have lights on all the time. We didn't have food all the time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
man, we were dirt poor, man.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things
Yeah.
that was reality. So, our life didn't center around money, but I didn't think I would ever join the military. That was like nobody joined the military from where I was. It wasn't part of my mindset. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended up meeting this recruiter and he got me. He was smooth. He got me. I used to and like this brother was talented. Oh, Sergeant Brian Smith. This dude,
Oh man.
he got me. He like so I used to draw. And he was like, hey, which he had his own business. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, hook me up with a logo. Like, I want to see some of your artwork. And, then he asked me to do some stuff for his church. And,
Mm-hmm.
I started drawing different pictures and we started hanging out. And, he talked to all my friends around me.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I was like, hey, why you never talked to me about the military? I didn't think you were trying to join. I was like, I never thought about it, but still, you could have brought it up to me.
Right.
Like, man, this is reverse psychology or
Yeah.
something.
Right. Did the long
I don't
game
know if
on you.
he, right, right. He definitely played the long game on me. And he's like, all right, cool. I'll go ahead, set up a meeting. He talked to my parents, he talked to me. And then he's starting asking, like, hey, what do you want to do? And like, well, I don't know. I just want to help people. He's like, okay, we got this. You can be a medic and you can go out here
Mm-hmm.
and help people. And so that's what I did, man.
Yeah.
I got nationally certified as an EMT.
Mm.
So I did it for a minute and like, oh, this is cool. And then I got into the whole mental health aspect of it.
Yeah.
And like, that's what I really like, just really helping people. And, like in the army, man, like there's some crazy people out there. There is some crazy people out there. So my wife makes fun of me. I tell the story all the time.
Oh
We were
shit.
in Afghanistan
Mm-hmm.
and we had this combat engineer girl come in. She she was having some issues. She was like, all right, I'm just today was the anniversary of my dad. He passed. He was a couple years
Mm-hmm.
and just I'm just having a rough time just
Mm-hmm.
being out here. And I was like, oh man, I can understand that. And he was
Yeah.
like, but I keep my dad everywhere I go. I was like, oh, that's cool. Your dad's in your heart. He follows you around, and it just you can keep thinking about it and keep his memory alive. She was like, no, I keep my dad with me. This woman pulls out a tattered envelope with her dad's remains in it, and this envelope, it was tattered. It was whole, a hole in the bottom of the envelope. So dad falling out on my carpet, on my on the table I had. And then so my mom, she sent me these animal crackers while I was deployed. So those were on the table for people to, enjoy too. So she got dad on the fingers. She's like, ooh, animal crackers. She reaches in, she grabs a
Bruh.
handful of these animal crackers.
Bruh.
And then, at this time we were in the front office. And so everyone's looking. My OIC, he's sitting there. My buddy, he was sitting there. And they just seen, dad sprinkle across the office. And she's eating on these cookies. I offered her the bag, like, you want these? You want to take it? No, no, I just got what I needed. And like, are you sure? You can take these. And as soon as she walked out, we threw the bag away.
Oh my
I was so mad, like, man, we got John Smith all over our office. I can't eat
God.
these.
No. And now my father's with you, and with you, and with
Right,
you forever.
right.
Oh,
I told
bro,
my buddy,
bro.
like, I don't know how much of her dad she got left, but he been all around this world.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
there's some characters out there, man. There's some characters out there.
Uh,
Well, man, Rich, thanks, dude, for doing this and being super flexible because we ran a bunch of technical issues beforehand, man. So I just want to say, hey, I'm super appreciative of your time, man, and your family for letting you take 2 hours on a Saturday to sit down and talk to me, bro.
no, it's all good, bro. Shoot, like I said, man, I'm happy that you have me. Hopefully we can meet again.
Hey,
But definitely once you post this to the group, hopefully we can meet up with the group
heck
and
yeah,
we just go wild out.
yes, sir.
It's gonna be like 85 south of here.
Oh Lord, see, that's what I'm trying to get to, man. That's the type of energy I'm trying to get.
I know it's there.
Yes,
Shoot,
sir.
once you tap into that, because you know there was a sex group spinoff, so all the single folks got
The
together.
single
Yeah,
folks, I need to talk to those single folks about what type of shenanigans they got going on. I'm gonna have to wait a little bit to actually release it, but
yeah,
just to have the
yeah.
material would be great. All right.
That's gonna be the unfiltered conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. Until next time, man.
All right, brother.
All
I
right.
appreciate you. Be good, and I'll be rooting for you and watching your success along the way, man.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, man. I can't wait for us to work on the next project, man. For real.